Good evening, and welcome to the 2022 ASOSU Presidential Debate. We are live in the KBVR TV studios in the Student Experience Center. I'm Isabella Santos, Sports Chief for Orange Media Network.
And I'm Adriana Gutierrez, Editor-in-Chief of the Daily Barometer. Thank you for watching tonight on KBVR for this important discussion. Tonight we will be hearing from candidates for President and Vice President of ASOSU. The ballots are currently open and will close on March 4th. Before we get to the questions, let's meet the tickets. They are Alexander Kerner for President and Isabella Griffis for Vice President, Matteo Paola for President, and Sierra Young for Vice President.
Also on the ballot are Calvin Anderman and Braeden Howard. They cannot be here tonight. For more information on the candidates' platforms, visit asosu.oregonstate.edu. Tonight's debate will last 60 minutes with questions written by the Daily Barometer.
Each ticket will first give a 2-minute opening statement, then we will move to the questions. For each question, each ticket will have 90 seconds to answer. Once all 3 tickets have answered the question, tickets will have the opportunity to give a 30-second rebuttal. At the end of the debate, each ticket will give a 2-minute closing statement.
To begin our debate tonight, Alexander and Isabella will give the opening statement.
Hello, I'm Isabella Griffis, and I go by she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm running for ASOSU Vice President. I'm a junior here at Oregon State studying Human Development and Family Sciences and double minoring in Communication and Business, and I'm also involved in a variety of clubs here at Oregon State. And over the past 3 years, I've had the amazing opportunity to get to know a large proportion of the student body here, and I've been able to hear their wants and needs, and that's why I'm here today. I want to be not only a friend to the students, but also to be a positive advocate and bring positive changes that not only benefit and improve the lives of the students here today, but also the students in the future. Thank you for having us.
Hey Beeves, my name is Alexander Kerner. I go by he, him, his pronouns, and I'm currently running for ASOSU President. Right now, I am a third-year student here at OSU. I am studying education, English, German, with a track in going into school administration. Currently, I am also a rec sports employee and a House representative, and I'm also part of the Synergy investment groups, and I've had internships in which I've managed around $2 million worth of money. And so I would say I'm a very great qualified candidate for running for president. Some of the things that Isabella and I want to do, we want to reopen Plagman through pharmaceutical grants. We also want to get more equipment for Dixon. We also want to further support CARPS and SARC by providing more personnel. And we also want to bring food carts to campus in order to solve food diversity issues. And we want to make OSU for you.
Next is Matteo and Sierra.
Hi, my name is Matteo Paola. I use he, him pronouns. I am currently a 4th year majoring in political science and minoring in chemistry. I'm on a pre-med track. I'm a 2nd year ASOSU House representative. Last year, I chaired the Ways and Means Committee where we rewrote the student government budget and authored the first piece of legislation calling for a living wage for student workers. I also work for the College of Liberal Arts as a student ambassador, and I sit on the CAPS advisory board, and I'm running for ASOSU president.
And I'm Sierra Young. I use she, her pronouns. I'm majoring in music and minoring in music performance, and I'm running for ASOSU vice president. I authored the bill for the ballot measure 2201, which is currently up for vote this election. And I am in my 2nd year as senator, as well as I am currently chairing our student government committee.
Our campaign is focused on 4 main priorities: sustainability, seeing the OSU Foundation fully divest from fossil fuels and renegotiating a new carbon neutrality agreement with Oregon State University. Worker rights, we want to see a living wage for all student workers, and we want to see cost of living raises built into all student employment.
Also health, fighting for reforms to SARC and CAPS, and fighting to address housing and food insecurity. And lastly, ASOSU reform, fighting to make ASOSU more representative of the actual student body.
Together, we have over 4 years of experience in student government. We have both served as committee chairs. We were both members of the Constitutional Convention, where we rewrote the ballot that is on the We rewrote the constitutional amendment that is on your ballot. I would strongly encourage a yes vote on that.
During our time at ASOSU, we have gained a deep understanding of the issues, ASOSU internally, and issues most important to the student body.
Thank you. Our first questions tonight are about student fees, and we begin with Alexander and Isabella. Do you feel that most students understand the student fee committee? How will you work to educate the student body on the process of setting student fees?
That's a really great question. So as it stands, a lot of students do not know ASOSU and what currently their functions are. The Student Fee Committee is what sets the student fees for each department, fee-funded department. And one of the things that we want to do is really want to get more advertising out there. There is a rule of 7 that if someone looks at something 7 times, they actually start to slowly remember what it is. And we really want to get more people on the ground and on the floor, like within the, like SEC Plaza in front of the MU, and really get more people to actually see what the SFC does. A lot of the other things that the people don't know is people don't know exactly where their money is going. And so getting more like flyers out, like, you know, each student is paying $60 for this, each student's paying $80 for that, really creating that sort of transparency to, for the OSU students here is, I guess, a top priority, as it is kind of shrouded in a mist of confusion. And so I think getting more people out on the ground and getting more, I guess, more information out there to students is important.
Yes, and so also when we've been talking to a lot of the student groups here on campus, only about 2 usually per each group, if any, actually know where their money is going towards. So this is a huge issue. We definitely want to make sure that students know that where their money is going, because a lot of students here are paying for college, and so, well, all of us are paying for college, but we want them to be better educated about where their money is going towards, and to have those opportunities for them to see that.
Thank you. Matteo and Sierra, you have 90 seconds.
Yeah, when I've talked to students last year and this year, most of them don't even know that there is a student government. They do not know what the SFC is. They don't know what the incidental fee is. I've talked to people who thought that was just money to like buy out the last OSU president. That's more of what tuition is for. Incidental fees cover 8 student fee funded units. They do a lot of good, in my opinion, for students, but there is a massive disconnect between the student body and the student fee committee as it stands. I helped advertise and table for the student fee committee sessions this year. There was not very much student attendance. I tried to be at those when I could, but you're lucky if you have like more than 2 students who aren't directly involved in the process show up. And I think it is very important that we work on doing outreach because it's over $26 million, going up to nearly $30 million next year of your money. You should have more of a say in how it works. I also think we need to work to simplify the student fee process because, as it stands, it is a lot of incredibly long, boring meetings, and I don't blame students for not wanting to participate, but it's also incredibly important, and I would like to see more student involvement.
And in my time at ASOSU, I've seen plenty of amazing ideas to increase outreach regarding ASOSU issues, including student fees. And most of those end up going nowhere for various reasons, but a lot of them just not passing all the way up to admin. And if we're elected, we would like to see that change and to push harder for those changes.
Our next question is for Matteo and Sierra. The SSC has voted to pass a 5.25% increase of student fees, totaling an extra $25 per academic term. Is it fair for students to have that much of an increase, and how is that increase beneficial for all students?
My thoughts on it are, like, student fees go to a lot of good, and especially this year, part of the reason we are seeing such a large increase across the board is because we got all 8 student fee funded units to institute a $15 minimum wage for student workers, which is obviously a good thing, and I think I've talked to a lot of students who are okay with paying a little bit more for that, but also at the same time, I do realize that is something that is coming directly out of students' bank accounts. We're not the federal government. We don't have the ability to tax the rich. We can't use money we don't have. So what I would like to see is more funding from the OSU Foundation. I would like to see us lobbying at the state level for more higher education funding. This year especially, they have a large influx of money from the federal government. I would like to see them start investing more in higher education. I've talked to budget managers, and part of the reason we see such like student fee creep is what I call it, because it's little changes for each unit, but it all adds up to a lot, is because there is a reduction in funding from the state government or from tuition dollars, and they just pass those things off onto student fees, and that is something I would like to see changed.
Yeah, Matteo, I think you said most of our points in there. So
Next is Alexander and Isabella.
I think if student fees are increased, I think that money needs to be allocated into resources that the students actually use. I think it would also be great if the students could possibly vote on where they think that their money should go. Personally, I also believe that We should allocate those funds to resources such as CAPS and SARC and further fund student workers and the resources here. Kerner, do you have anything?
Yeah, so a lot of the times that when these fee increases happen, they usually are going up with inflation, and so each department requires more and more money each year. And so, as Matteo mentioned, there is a lot of, I guess, a lot of the fees from other departments that don't get funding from the government, it gets dropped on the students, and setting up a boundary for that would be definitely a priority, as it's not necessarily the student's job to pay for some of these fees and bills. But yeah.
Matteo, rebuttal?
I just want to add on to the CAPS and SARC point is, as things currently stand, it's not currently student fee funded. There was a thing several years ago where I think that largely a push from OSU administration where they were worried about not having consistent long-term funding. So we voted to move the student health services and CAPS fee out of the student fee process. So you can dedicate money to that, but you have to have buy-in from the OSU administration to actually spend that money. And that is something that you would have to fight for if you were to do something like a SARC or a CAPS supplementary fee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question goes to Alexander and Isabella. Should you be elected, how will you make sure that all campus resources are properly funded in a way that is beneficial for all OSU students?
Well, one of the things we want to do is we really want to try and prioritize, I guess, resources that go directly to students or have, I guess, a priority into student health, student safety, and student experience. A big thing that we're looking at is CAPS. CAPS was they took a big hit, and right now there's like a 2 to 4 month wait to students applying for CAPS. And so students who are trying to get their mental health resources, they have to wait, and that helps no one. And so like setting priorities on certain funded units would be one of the paths we would like to take. SARC also got hit. They lost some personnel, and so trying to refill some of their ranks so that they can actually go through and process some of the requests that they get. Also, stuff like getting more people involved in like Safe Ride and Safe Walk. That would be great, as currently they have a lot of openings. So stuff that directly affects student health and student safety is definitely something we want to look at. Plagueman pharmacy is a big one. A lot of students have to wait or go to like Fred Meyer, and like students who don't have transportation, they have to wait a long time. And so like those two things are definitely on our top priority.
Thank you.
I think it boils down to the same issue of like outreach. You want student input before these fee changes are made. And I think this is something that the Human Services Resource Center did a great job of this year. They did community tabling events where they invited members from the student body to come and give their input on student fees. I would like to see that from all of the student fee funded units. Something else we would like to see is moving fees from things like athletics, which gets like 4% of their revenue from student fees. It's $2.6 million. That only counts, they get $85 million in revenue every year. So we would like to see those redirected towards more critical services like the HSRC, like ASOSU, so we can expand Safe Ride and expand the Safe Walk program, which is set to begin a pilot program next year and like full on the next year. I don't think it's there. There's going to be a pilot program next term and the full thing next year. We would like to increase staffing for that. We would like to see more money go towards SARC. The issue more specifically with SARC is it's not a great work environment as things currently stand, so it's not just an issue of funding. Of course, we would like to see more funding, but we would also like to see it changed into a centralized model, so people go to SARC, they get the help they need there, they don't go to SARC, and then they're referred to other places. But we would also like to see increased staffing for SARC and CAPS.
Yes, we want to make sure that that process is more streamlined. I know myself personally, whenever I go to, a doctor or something, and they refer to several different specialists, and then eventually it just, you just give up.
Thank you.
Matteo and Sarah will answer first for the next question. So in regards to COVID-19, is there anything you would change about the current policies that Oregon State has implemented? And if so, what are those changes?
Oh boy, there is a lot. There was a push by CGE to have OSU give out free masks, and I think they have addressed that a little bit. There are places you can go on campus to get masks now. The library is one off the top of my head, but there are others, and they give them out to most workplaces now. Something that I would really like to see that they have not made any real effort in is pushing for like a hybrid model, having teachers record lectures so that students aren't pressured to come to class when they're sick. Recently with the CDC changing the isolation requirement from 10 days to 5 days, the last email OSU administration sent out that kind of reads like, it's just 5 days, it's not a big deal, you can miss classes. It doesn't seem like they're working very much with students to help them address like issues that arise from them testing positive. I would like to see hybrid become mandatory for all classes. I would also like to see OSU investing more in getting all students booster shots.
Yeah, I agree. I know that some of my classes have had challenges, or that the teachers don't even offer Zoom or don't make it very accessible, and you have to privately email them to get the Zoom link. And I know that me and many other classmates of mine, even 2 years into this pandemic, still have autoimmune compromised friends and family members that we see all the time. And so if we get sick, we can't continue doing what we do, and we have to isolate. And we definitely want to push the university to continue doing those things.
Thank you for your response. Next is Alexander and Isabella.
Yeah, so as I'm working as a rec sports employee, I actually see a lot of places where masks are distributed. I personally like that policy, although usually those boxes that they're putting out are empty, unfortunately. So always looking and seeing if those boxes are full and seeing if people have access to masks. Another thing that we would like to do in our, if we were to be elected, is in the next year or in sometime in the near future, COVID will eventually become endemic. This is shown by the Harvard School of Health. And Dr. Fauci is also mentioning that COVID will become eventually endemic. So one of the things that we want to do in following these predicted guidelines is to have COVID boosters be distributed, especially during when we have the flu clinics here at campus. We just want to have COVID boosters alongside the flu shots. And so those are some of the things that we were talking about.
Yeah, as Kerner mentioned, we want to make sure that students have the resources that they need to feel safe while attending Oregon State, and so that they can have the safest experience while also having the best experience here at Oregon State.
And another thing is going along with the hybrid classes. A lot of the larger classes at Oregon State University have hybrid options. However, the smaller classes normally do not. And so trying to push for more hybrid classes if the university is going to have stricter policies on COVID would definitely be helpful, because students either lose out on their education or just lose out on what's going on in their class.
Just to speak on the whole pharmacy idea for a quick second, I think it is a great idea. I don't know how achievable it is, but that is something in the past they have done, is they have done vaccine clinics. If you need a flu shot, you go there and get it. So if we were to reopen the pharmacy, and that is something I would definitely want to see, but I don't want to make promises that we can't achieve. I don't know if it's achievable in a year. We would like to at least start the process of securing funding for it. We would like to see them giving out vaccines to students, especially when they discourage car use. We would like to see students easily be able to get the things that they're required to have to attend classes.
The rebuttal?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're looking at, because opening the pharmacy is one of our biggest statements that we'd like to see students get. And that's mostly because there's a lot of students that require prescriptions, and opening the pharmacy would make it more accessible to those students. We've been looking at grants we can apply for as a university, Pfizer's doing grants for this. Also, Jamison is doing grants, and Regeneron are also doing pharmaceutical grants. And mostly we want to go through grants instead of student dollars, mostly because grants are more, how would you put it, given, or not given, distributed. No, it's more you know how much you're going to get from a grant necessarily. And so using student dollars is kind of sometimes tricky in dedicating the certain amount of what you need to these sort of larger projects like a reopening Plagueman.
Okay, that brings us to our first break of the night.
When we come back, we'll hear from the candidates on ways to increase student involvement.
Hi, my name is Kay Solozzi. I'm a senior here at Oregon State University, and this is my story. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me on another journey through the multi-lens. I'm your host, Kay Solozzi. Well, when I first came to Orange Media Network, I came with a passionate idea that I had in podcasting, and that was to talk about science, religion, culture, things that were in the headlines, dive deep in a variety podcast show. The opportunities here at Orange Media Network are great. They have state-of-the-art resources. These professional level cameras and microphones and equipment has elevated my podcast to a professional radio quality podcast. And these resources are accessible to anyone who's interested in media. I was able to create an amazing portfolio, and that portfolio helped me land a marketing job in the industry. My name is Kay Solozzi. Come join Orange Media Network so you can tell your story.
To generations from around the world.
Ability to play their own game.
Polar front coming straight down.
Tip 22, brewing your own coffee. Brewing your own coffee has been a shared practice for generations, and for good reason. It creates less waste, you don't have to wait in line, and it saves you a lot of money. Like, really? You're about to spend the same amount as you could on a full meal on a single cup of coffee? Come on. For more tips on saving money at OSU, check out Stretching a Dollar Beaver Style, a crowdsourced student-made document.
Welcome back to the 2022 ASOSU Presidential Debate.
Our next questions will cover sustainability and student involvement. Matteo and Sarah will answer first. What are some of your sustainability initiatives to preserve Oregon State? You have 90 seconds.
Two of our big ones is we would like to renegotiate a new carbon neutrality agreement with OSU. For those who are familiar, OSU, like over a decade ago, made a promise to be carbon neutral by 2025. There is no way that that is actually going to happen. So what we would want to do, rather than just like selecting a date in the far off future and then not making any steps at addressing it, is come up with like concrete goals and steps that have to be reached year by year with which we can hold OSU administration accountable. Something else we would like to see is having the OSU Foundation fully divest from fossil fuels. There was a successful push from students a few years ago to have the OSU Board of Trustees do that, but it's something we would like to see extended to the OSU Foundation.
Yes, and we're also, we'll be working with Sunrise Corvallis, as well as faculty, students, and of course, Oregon State administration.
Next is Alexander and Isabella.
All right, so we definitely want to, we are a land-grant university, so we want to invest in hopefully growing our own crops here on campus. We'd love to see our land growing spinach and lettuce, as that's what grows in our climate, and we want to use that in the dining halls. Currently, crops are being used as research projects right now, and there's lots of chemicals on them, and they currently cannot be consumed, so we'd like to see that change. We'd also like to reduce electronic waste here at Oregon State. We have a lot of computers and electronics that aren't being used, and we'd like to either sell those to gain more money for students, or also to reallocate and sell those at a lower cost for students of low income.
Another thing we can do as a OSU, as the university, is we'd like to look at designing patents that will directly benefit, our communities and whatnot. We are an agricultural school, and we're also an engineering school. So like having certain patents like better and more efficient, fuel-efficient harvesters that can do like spot checking, or drones that can do spot checking in the field, so that there doesn't have to be as much gas and as many trips done by harvesters. That's just an example. Another thing that we really like to look at is the soil management here at OSU. As Isabella mentioned, there is a lot of testing done on the crops that we do here, and that does leak into our soil. And so looking and fighting for those, fighting to change and reduce those amounts of soil, contamination is something we were interested and keen on doing.
You have a rebuttal?
Something we would also like to see is at a state level lobbying for climate change legislation. This past week, I had the opportunity to participate in University Lobbying Day. Unfortunately, climate change legislation was not one of the things they were having us lobby for. I would like to see it be something that we lobby for every year. After all, they have a lot more money than OSU has, and they can make changes at not just a campus level, but a state level that would really go a long ways towards addressing that.
Rebuttal?
Yeah, so one of the things that we also wanted to do is we wanted to work with Augsburg and other student communities that directly are invested in advocating for climate awareness, climate change, fighting climate change. And so it's some of the things that we'd like to do in the future if we were to be elected.
Yes, then also lobbying in Salem as well to improve the environment.
Thank you. The next question is for Alexander and Isabella. What is the importance of student government to you, and how do you plan to get students interested and involved in student politics? You have 90 seconds.
Yeah, this is a great question. Definitely, I want to get more students involved in student government because it's a great way to get to know the community and to really leave a lasting change. That's why I wanted to join student government here and run for vice president, because I know the community and I know the desires and needs that they have. And I think also having an outreach, not a lot of people know that that Oregon State really had a student government. There wasn't a lot of outreach or communication between the actual student body and student government. So I think creating more outreach, creating more community between the two so that students know where their funding is going, what events are going on campus, and so that we can work more hand in hand with the students here at Oregon State.
I think also restarting the programs in which ASOSU members go into classes and present for a couple minutes. I think that would definitely also bring some more outreach to ASOSU. ASOSU does a lot of great things for students here on campus. They are funding stuff like HSRC and a lot of other programs. And so really getting the word out and having, I guess, I'd love to use the word boots on the ground, getting people out and like approaching students and saying, give me maybe a flyer or something. And again, if someone sees something 7 or more times, they'll eventually begin to catch on and start saying, oh, this is here, this is happening. And yeah.
Next is Matteo and Sierra. You have 90 seconds as well.
Thank you. One thing for me is I was very lucky to, my first few years here at Oregon State, to know someone who was very involved with ASOSU, and they were able to answer my questions and get me interested in it. And so something I want to be able to do is be, someone you can approach and ask these questions and have all these knowledgeable answers. And I think that's an important part of outreach for our ASOSU, is being able to know and how to answer these questions that students may have. And I think my time in our outreach committee last year has showed me lots of issues with outreach, especially during COVID and Zoom University, and has given me an opportunity to hear lots of ideas from various students on how to make outreach better.
And just to add to that real quick, for like context, ASOSU does have more funding next year, and that will lead to increased hours for executive branch positions and for people in Congress. And I think that creates a great opportunity to do outreach. As things currently stand, we're both paid for 2.5 hours a week. I do a lot more than that, just like as volunteering. But if we had more compensation, that would allow members to actually participate in outreach, because as things stand, they can only do that if they're willing to put in extra unpaid work. But we have a great opportunity to start addressing that next year.
Our next question. At the start of last year, OSU created its own police force after terminating a contract with Oregon State Police, who participated in a bicycle incident. How will you work with campus safety to ensure students of all backgrounds are safe on campus? Matteo and Sarah, please give your response first.
Last year, I was a part of the outreach committee, which held a town hall on this exact topic. And something that I think we really need to work on is kind of regaining a better relationship with the police force that we have on campus. I know that last year it was a bit tense, and I think something important is just regaining that working relationship.
I would also like to see, there are a lot of areas on campus that get incredibly dark at night. I have heard from many students they don't feel safe walking home. ASOSU is addressing that a little bit with the Safe Walk pilot program starting next term, and that is something I had the opportunity to help work on. But I would like to see more lighting installed on campus, and I would like to see more steps taken to ensure that students feel safe. I would like to see ASOSU Safe Ride expanded, and just like as a citywide level, I would like to lobby for increase in public transportation, especially for a college that encourages students to not have cars with them. It will go a long way towards improving safety if there was reliable public transportation and if Safe Ride was available for longer hours.
Alexander and Isabella, you have 90 seconds.
So one of the things that we heard that a lot of students from communities, they feel uncomfortable with some of the police, with the new OSU police. One of the things we would like to push for is more campus safety rather than police officers here. Additionally, we would like to also host, to increase safety awareness, we'd like to host like SAE safety awareness events. We're basically in which we have tabling, we have people from the campus safety that go over material safety, we have people talking about how to combat hate speech. We also would like to increase the lighting on campus, maybe installing smaller lights that can illuminate pathways, or increasing the illumination of existing lamps, although you have to do that with consideration of light pollution around dorms. And so that's something we want to look at. But really having more safety awareness events is something that I think should definitely be out there. Again, rule of 7, I'll keep going back to it. If people see it enough, people will start to take note.
Yeah, as Kerner mentioned, we definitely want to get more educational just about safety in the SEC, not only like campus safety, but also personal safety as well. As Kerner also mentioned, with the lighting, we want to make sure. I definitely have felt unsafe at times walking on campus if I have night classes, so I would love to see improved lighting. And then also safety in regards to just respecting all persons, as also Kerner mentioned, reducing hate speech on campus and reducing sexual assault cases on campus as well.
You have a rebuttal?
I think another really important thing is, as a white woman, my biggest fear is, walking around in dark and I see, a DPS or a police vehicle and it makes me feel safe. But I know that's not the case for everyone. And something important is to make sure that we listen to those voices, because that's not an experience Matteo, anyone here has probably ever experienced. And I think it's really important that we reach out and, before making any decisions on, police force or anything like that, to make sure we've heard all the voices in the room.
Thank you. Alexander and Isabella will answer first for our next question. Do you think there is a divide between campus and the city of Corvallis? If so, is it possible to bridge gaps between students and Corvallis residents? Alexander and Isabella, you're up first.
I think there might be a small divide. There definitely should be at least a lot more connection with OSU, and I'd like to say ASOSU, with local governing leaders. I think having good communications with those. There was an event where we were talking to the city district judge, and just having events like those where we can actually connect with Corvallis, like Corvallis businesses, and really showing, getting people more involved in the Corvallis community and actually showing what there is there and trying to, bridge some of those gaps that might not have that much of an understanding. I know that a lot of international students find it a little confusing and are unfamiliar with how Corvallis works, and so really trying to bring light to that would be definitely a goal.
I'd also really love to see more outreach to the Corvallis community, possibly partnering with clubs to do more volunteer work, to really give back to the community and serve those in Corvallis. So that's, yeah.
Thank you. Now on to Matteo and Sierra.
Something I would like to see within the policy coordinator in the ASOSU executive branch is more lobbying with the city councilors. We want to see more of a push for friendlier zoning laws that allow more affordable housing rather than single-family homes. For most people living in Corvallis, I'm sure you're familiar that cost of living is insanely high. Apartments are pretty expensive. Dorms are incredibly expensive. There is not much in the way of affordable housing. So that is something we would definitely want to push for on a community level.
Yeah, I'd say in the past 2 years, communication with the city of Corvallis hasn't, I'd say, really been there as much. I know the first thing I thought of when asked the question was parking and City of Corvallis parking tickets and buying a parking pass. But I think it'd be, again, very important to establish lobbying and relationships there.
Thank you. And that brings us to our next break.
We'll be back in a moment with our final questions for the candidates.
audio, man. It's in the air. It's the fluctuations that vibrate our ear holes and make the cochlea sensitive, you know? You can't ignore it, and you try to start measuring it, and it just pulls you in. Well, I used to try to play music on my own, make the sounds from my own hands and instruments. Then I started recording. Upon hearing myself in my recordings, I decided I should just record. When you're a young adult who is serious about pursuing media as a career or even a side hustle, a lot of people won't take you seriously. OMN is cool because not only will they take you seriously, they'll push you and they'll give you all the tools to really try to do something special with it and let you be creative about it. And so that's what's been special about OMN to me. I'm Sam Lay, and I'm a student engineer at Orange Media Network.
Welcome back to the 2022 ASOSU Presidential Debate, live on KBVR.
Let's move on to our next questions for the candidates. Our next question is for Alexander and Isabella. How will you help the student body transition from the interim presidential administration to a permanent presidential administration?
We'd like to keep live updates with the students and through the OSU social media, and having some people hand out flyers, and generally just getting polls from the students. I think student feedback would be really important, and seeing how they feel real time in this transition would be vital for this, as this the new president and the permanent president will be basically overseeing a lot of what OSU is doing, and having student input on that is, again, vital because it affects them directly.
Yeah, as Kerner said, I think it'd be very important to have that student input and staying active on social media so that students can vote and give us advice, and also just their desires and needs directly to us via social media, and it's in live time. So we can take what their responses and apply that into the administration. And so some of the things we could do as an ASOSU is have people walk around and ask students directly with a clipboard and say, hey, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? And then also we could also host town halls in which students can come directly to us, or just have a email open that students can email directly and seeing what they would like to see with the new president and so on.
Thank you. Next is Matteo and Sierra.
I was actually reached out to by OSU and asked to serve on the committee that picks the hiring firm for the next OSU president. But when they reached out to me, they were very specific. Are you free during these times? And then I wasn't, so it didn't work out. I think it's a big issue is they don't put students first in these conversations. They kind of just include them so they're there, but they don't really listen to them. Something I would like to see is a change in that. I would like to see a lot more transparency. Something previous OSU presidents have done has been meeting with the College of Graduate Employees Union. I would like to see them meet with ASOSU. I would like to see them have larger meetings with the student body. I would like to see student input actually taken into account in this process.
Yeah, I know a lot of my friends who aren't really involved with ASOSU didn't even know that this was happening. They didn't know there was a transition or anything of that nature. I think it's really important to make sure the students actually know and can get involved.
I have a rebuttal. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'd like to just add on that, usually the president would meet with the ASOSU president and vice president and would have like a 15-minute meeting with the president and vice president, like once every month. And so I think increasing those hours, or increasing like the time that the president and vice president are meeting with the ASOSU, with the new OSU president, I think that would be very vital, because as the ASOSU president and vice president, you do have the option to really voice what the students want and what the students need.
Thank you.
Something I would like to see is reforms to make the Board of Trustees more democratic. It's something that has been attempted in past years in the state legislature and in the bill guiding committee, as most bills do. But if we're elected, I would like to have us push at a state level for reforms that make the Board of Trustees more democratic, that increase the number of student seats, so that's where the real power comes from, usually from OSU decisions. We would like to see students more involved there.
Thank you.
Matteo and Sarah, the next question begins with you. How do you wish to work with counseling and psychological services to assist students' mental health during the pandemic, and work with the Survivor Advocacy Resource Center to assist survivors of sexual assault?
So something I have had the opportunity to work on this year, there is a SARC reform resolution going around. You can see it in the bio of our website. It also should be on the ASOSU Instagram. I helped author that with Kate Rocky, who is the ASOSU Women and Gender Advocacy Coordinator and who has also endorsed our campaign. Part of the list of demands in there is to have student representatives serve on hiring committees for counseling and psychological services and the Survivor Advocacy and Resource Center. Something else I would like to see and is included on that list of demands is increased transparency. Any decisions that are made that alter how student health services or CAPS functions should be brought before the ASOSU Student Government and Faculty Senate. Really, it just boils back down to transparency. They make these decisions without involving students. There has been talk behind the scenes of a student health insurance mandate. Obviously, no transparency there from students. It's something they're just going to drop on us at some point. So what I would like to see there is a lot more engagement with the student body before these very big changes are made. And if you haven't, please sign the resolution. I would really like to see those changes take place.
Yes, please sign the resolution.
Not Alexander and Isabella.
So one of the things that we've noticed, and how some of the things that we want to assist, is getting more personnel for these two groups, CAPS and SARC. Matteo and I and Sierra, we work in the ASOSU and the ASOSU government, specifically Congress, and we hear a lot of the issues that are brought to us. And one of the issues that we found that, like, the director and I think of both departments dropped recently, and so some of their operating functions have been limited. And so getting more personnel, like refilling that position and actually filling it up with more employees would be definitely important. I was thinking with SARC, you can hire at least 2 to 3 more employees. And with CAPS, you can outsource some of the therapy functions, like to stuff like BetterHelp and whatnot. And so getting that option would relieve some of the stress on CAPS, but also maybe hiring some more personnel for CAPS as well would be definitely helpful with some of the stress and burdens that they're facing currently.
Over rebuttal.
Something I would like to see is, I kind of lost my track of thought. I would like, it's not just increased funding for more positions for SARC. Something that is part of the resolution we're putting for is to make it a centralized model. I mentioned this earlier, where students go and they're not referred to different services. Like, we don't want students to go try and seek their services and be referred to CAPS and then wait for 2 months. We want students to just go to this one place and be able to be seen immediately for any of the issues that they are facing. We would also like to see them hire a programming director and outreach coordinator.
Thank you. Our next question goes to Matteo and Sierra. This year, Trace OSU was canceled after being an integral part of tracking Corvallis data regarding the spread of COVID-19. What is your opinion on this program's absence, and how can we move forward from the pandemic while still tracking cases?
This also boils down to transparency. I feel OSU administration has not been particularly transparent about it, and this was also part of the list of demands that CGE put out. Case numbers aren't easily accessible on the website. They may be more easy to access now since those demands have come out, but initially they were very hidden. You had to go and look for them. They weren't accurately reporting case numbers. I would like to see Trace come back. I would like to see increased hours for COVID testing, and not just for people who are exposed, but just open to whoever. I would also very much like to see it something that's open to the Corvallis community as a whole, because a lot of transmission is happening outside of OSU students, is spreading between OSU and the community. But for people who are not OSU students, it can be hard to seek testing if they're worried that they're positive. So I would like to see us offer testing services for everyone in the community.
Thank you. Alexander and Isabella, you have 90 seconds.
So one of the things that it's kind of disheartening to hear that Trace died off. There definitely is a lack of this transparency with the OSU administration, as some of these programs are just disappearing, or they're not being supported enough. One of the things that we'd like to see OSU do instead of doing trace testing is having some of those at-home testing. They have them supply those at-home testings, so a student can go grab a pack of that, hopefully in the student pharmacy or something like that, and they can go home and do it at their own time, and then get the results immediately instead of having to wait for time and time again. And so that immediate response, or the immediate, result is would be definitely beneficial for students, and also that they don't have to go in and stay in a spot where people might be sick. So the at-home testing, being provided by OSU, would definitely be something that we'd want to advocate for and push for.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for answering our questions tonight.
Now each taker will give a 2-minute closing statement. We begin with Alexander and Isabella.
Yeah, hey guys. As I said before, my name is Alexander Kerner. I'm running for ASOSU President.
And I'm running for ASOSU Vice President, and I'm Isabella Griffis.
We really want to represent your voice on campus and really represent the OSU community on the state level. Our objectives are to reopen Plagueman, raise student wages with inflation, further support and fund SARC and CAPS. We also want to create more sustainable environment at OSU, bring food trucks to campus, and add more lifting equipment to Dixon.
Yeah, and we're here to represent you and to represent and to hear your wants and desires and needs and really make those changes and making lasting changes. So not only that they impact you, but also future students. And we just want to make those changes for you, and we want to represent you. And to help you to have the best experience here at Oregon State that you possibly can. So remember to get your vote out. Vote for Kerner Griffiths before March 4th. You can also find our Instagram at OSU for you. But go Beavs, and thank you for having us.
Thank you. Next is Matteo and Sierra.
Something that I think really sets our ticket apart from the other tickets is the level of depth of experience that we have. And what I would say on this issue is don't take our word for it. Go to our website, yourosu.com, or Instagram, your_OSU, should just show up if you type in your OSU. We have a wide variety of endorsements from people who have worked in student government, from survivor care advocates that speak not only to our campaign promises, but our efforts at fighting for these things in the past, and they speak to our experience and our ability to get things done. And I think that is something that's incredibly important, especially if this constitutional amendment passes and it falls to the student government to essentially reform the student government. It is very crucial that we have someone serving as vice president, president of the Senate, that knows what issues have plagued ASOSU student government in the past and is able to address them.
Yes, Matteo and I have had 4 years total of combined experience, as well as different volunteering experiences aside from office in ASOSU. And I think that's something very important to be able to know going into these positions. And it would make a huge difference.
Thank you, candidates, for taking time to speak to students of OSU tonight.
Remember to vote in this year's ASOSU elections. The ballot can be found online at asosu.oregonstate.edu/elections. Ballots close on March 4th.
For more information on all the candidates, visit dailybarometer.com.
Thank you and good night.